Briana has already been our guest speaker during our year last year, and this is actually one of the positive aspects of the Rotary Club, because I met and I had the chance to meet Briana exactly because of a Rotary meeting, our Rotary meeting in April, and I was so impressed that I contacted her, and we had the idea, which is becoming one of our projects of this year, an awareness campaign against the use of plastic, but combined with the suggestions of alternatives products, which are eco-friendly and can be used instead of plastic. We open the meeting with the national USA hymn, because in honor of Briana, our guest. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the twilight's last gleam, whose first stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we marched, where so gallantly streamed, and the rocket's red glare along thirsty. Oops, sorry. Thank you again. And now let me introduce Briana Hoffman.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you for inviting me this evening. As Emilio said, I'm Briana Hoffman. I am a software engineer. I am not an expert in plastic or an expert in environmental things. I'm just an everyday person like, you know, everybody else on this call. And, you know, I realized a few years ago, I was handing out water at a marathon, and they were in compostable cups. And I realized at that moment that the choices that we as individuals make can have a big impact. And so I became really interested in improving my own choices and reducing plastic, and then also just sharing what I had learned with others to make you know, your choices easier, so that you know, you may be able to choose some lower plastic products in your life. So the first thing we need to talk about is, why is plastic even a product? You know, plastic has been with us ever since pretty much all of us were born. But the problem with plastic is that only a small amount of the plastic today is actually recycled. Only about 10% of it, according to the Environmental Protection Agency in the United States. And, you know, especially lately, plastic pollution is worsening worldwide as our plastic consumption grows every year. And at the current rate of plastic pollution, there will be more plastic by weight than fish in the ocean by the year 2050, which is really alarming. Plastic is not sustainable, and recycled plastic that doesn't have a market, basically there's nobody to buy that plastic that we think we're recycling, really goes to the landfill. It used to be that, at least for the United States, China was buying our recycling material, and a few years ago they stopped doing that. And so a much larger percentage of our materials that we think are being recycled concerning plastic are actually going to the landfill. And, you know, a lot of people think that plastic can, you know, you can just keep recycling plastic, so what's the problem? But unlike a lot of other materials like glass and steel and aluminum, you can't recycle plastic over and over and over again. In this slide, you'll see down below there's some some labels that you may have seen on plastic products. These actually tell what the material is that the plastic is made of. And plastic can only be recycled 3 or 4 times before it has to go to the landfill or becomes plastic pollution. So when you know, if something starts out as a 1, it may come back as a 3. Basically, the numbers get higher the more times you recycle it, and then after 7, it's off to the landfill. So unlike glass that you can recycle as many times as you want, you can't do that with plastic. So we've all been led to believe by the industry that we can recycle plastic, but it's really important to know that just because you drop it in your recycling bin doesn't mean it's going to be recycled. There are more than 300 million tons of new plastic produced annually in the United States, and less than 10% of it is recycled. And I'm sure in other countries, those numbers are similar. And again, plastic can only be recycled where there's a market for it. And as I had mentioned, China stopped taking our plastic 2 years ago, so there's a lot less demand for those recyclables. And most of our plastic, the reality is most of it's ending up in landfills or the ocean. When plastic does break down, it becomes microplastics, and microplastic pollution is becoming an ever greater problem. Microplastics are basically, you know, if you've seen a piece of plastic by the side of the road, after a few months, it's just tiny little pieces. So it can break into these small particles, and once they get into the waterways and the ocean, animals in the ocean eat it. And so we're finding there's microplastics in our soil, in our water, and even in our air. And the problem with these microplastics is that they can cause a lot of health issues for us. They can cause endocrine hormone issues because the plastic actually looks like some of our endocrine hormones. And so it fools our body into basically doing the wrong thing. It can cause lower fertility and can even cause cancer. So microplastics have been shown to attract and store toxins like heavy metals. So when the toxins are absorbed by those microplastics and then eaten by fish, you end up with, you know, concentrations of those toxins in the fish, and then we eat the fish, and then, you know, we get the toxins in our bodies. So what I really want to share with you is some of the choices that we can make to reduce the amount of plastic that is created on our behalf and that we're using. And so we're going to talk about some great products that have less plastic or no plastic. So these are some really easy swaps that you can do in your house, in your own household. And a lot of them are better for your health or will save you money. And so I've shared some of my favorite swaps in the following slides. This first one, I have to tell you, this one is the most frustrating item for me. And it's the disposable face mask. You know, with the pandemic still going on, there are just huge quantities of personal protective equipment, especially these face masks, ending up littering, littering our landscape and ending up in landfills and in the ocean. There's an estimated, in 2020, an estimated 166 billion was spent on face masks compared to only 800 million in 2019. So just a huge, phenomenal increase. These disposable face masks often contain plastic in the form of polypropylene, and usually cannot be recycled. And actually, you know, if you're looking to protect yourself, a well-made cloth face mask usually fits your face better than these disposable face masks and can offer you more protection. Now, the exception to this, of course, if you have N95 masks or KN95 masks, those have plastic material in them, but I personally would recommend safety first. If you have an N95, be safe and use it. But, you know, if you're just are going with something that's not the level of protection of an N95, if you can use a cloth face mask instead and reuse them and wash them, We have a supply of those at home, and in lower risk settings, we just use cloth face masks so that we're not constantly throwing away those disposable face masks. The grocery sack. Now, I know a lot of countries are doing great with eliminating the grocery sack. The last time I was in France, I love the fact that you could get these really heavy duty shopping bags, and they don't just give out grocery sacks. That is wonderful. For other countries that have the grocery sack, you know what, America is terrible with grocery sacks. Plastic bags here in America are used for an average of 12 minutes. And then they take hundreds of years to degrade in the landfill. They easily become microplastics, which absorb toxins and continue to pollute. If you look down a riverbed anywhere here in the United States, you see plastic. You see these plastic bags stuck on trees. It's something that we could really do better on reducing our use of these plastics. And the plastic bags kill an estimated 100,000 marine animals a year. So the solution, of course, is to switch to reusable grocery sacks. If you do have plastic bags that you need to get rid of, like during the pandemic, I know over here for a while we were not allowed to use reusable bags. So a lot of people have big supplies of plastic bags. And over here, I've found that we can donate our plastic bags to a local food bank so that they'll be reused instead of having to use new ones. And then also recycling the bags if you can. In my experience, I keep my my cloth bags in the trunk of my car, so I always have them. And then I have a super small nylon bag in my purse, so I'm never without a reusable bag. Produce bags are great for the grocery store as well, and they eliminate the need for those plastic produce bags that we get in the store. And I really love these. I use them for other things as well. When I travel, I throw, odds and ends in these bags and close them up instead of using plastic. They tear less, so these are a really great swap. Milk cartons. In the United States, and I'm not sure about other countries, but a very popular form of carton that we have are these big plastic jugs. And there's an alternative to that, which is these paperboard cartons that you see down here. They do have a plastic cap, but you can see it's a lot less plastic than the plastic jug. And most of these can be recycled. So we have switched over, in my family, we've switched over to buying milk in these paperboard cartons. So for people who drink soda, it's important to know that if you drink it from aluminum cans and you throw the aluminum cans in the recycling, that aluminum can will be back on the shelf in about 60 days as a new aluminum can, unlike plastic. So, if you want to continue to drink soda, just switch over to aluminum cans, and that's a really good thing that you can do for the environment. Canning jars. This is one of my favorites. We have bought a large supply of canning jars, and instead of putting food in plastic containers and plastic bags to freeze it, we actually put it in canning jars. So we use these both in the refrigerator for storing leftovers. We use them in the freezer. We do have other glass containers in the refrigerator, but canning jars are really cheap. They're a lot cheaper than other glass containers. So this is one of our favorite go-tos for storing food. Now, I used to be concerned about freezing in canning jars, but I found a few tricks that make it possible to freeze in canning jars safely. So the ideal thing when you freeze in a canning jar, there are some types of jars that have these straight sides. And if you have a straight-sided jar, so you may be worried about the jar breaking when you freeze food or liquids inside it. The straight-sided jar allows the food or the liquid to expand upwards in the jar so it won't crack. And then if you're using a jar that has a bend in the top, as long as you can fill the jar but leave a little space below that bend so that the food can expand upward, and that'll keep it from cracking as well. And then the last tip I have that I learned from personal experience is Don't take these jars out of the freezer and put them directly into the microwave and microwave them. They will break. I know this from personal experience. Don't do that. So usually I'll warm them in some warm water and then dump the contents out and microwave them in something else. Okay, so this is a self-correction from the previous version of this slide deck that I gave, where I talked about how much I love laundry pods. Let's talk about why laundry detergent and dishwasher detergent pods are not environmentally friendly. The film on the outside of these pods, manufacturers will tell us that they dissolve completely in water. First of all, that is not usually true. And second, they are still plastic. Polyvinyl alcohol is the material that they are using in those pods, and it is plastic. Now, even if it did dissolve completely in water, think about what happens if you take a tablespoon of salt and you dump it in water. It completely dissolves, doesn't it? But you still have salt in the water. So the same thing is here. If these pods do completely dissolve, you're still getting plastic in our water supply. So beware of the pods. I used to love these and I thought I was doing a great thing for the environment. But as it turns out, studies are showing, first of all, these pods do not completely dissolve. Up to 75% of these pods is entering the environment in the form of this PVA sludge. And it is known to cause the same types of health effects that plastics do. It absorbs those heavy metals. They've showed that it has harmful effect on aquatic life and plant life. So these pods are not good. Okay, so what to do instead? The best way to avoid PVA, the polyvinyl alcohol in detergents, is read the ingredients. So not only do these pods have PVA in them, but many of the laundry strips that you'll see, they advertise these laundry strips that you can get in the mail. They actually have a matrix of this PVA with the soap pressed into it. So you really have to read the ingredients. So one way to make it easy, for people who live in the United States, there's an environmental working group that has a website that you can look at ratings of different products, and it will tell which ones are environmentally safe and safe for your health and which ones are not. One of the products I found in the United States is from Blue Land. They make pressed laundry, we'll call them tablets. They're not really pods because it doesn't have that plastic film. They make dishwasher detergent and they make laundry detergent. So in your country, I would encourage you to look for something similar. And then also, you know, a lot of times you can get detergents in powder form in boxes. So, you know, look at those alternatives. Anything powdered in a box is likely not going to have the plastic in it. Shampoo and conditioner, we know usually comes in bottles. And one of my favorites, my favorite replacement is shampoo bars and conditioner bars. There's a company called Etique that does ship to many countries, and they make some really nice shampoo and conditioner bars. You know, they're not alone. There's a lot of companies that make shampoo and conditioner bars, and I really love these. I like them just as much as my regular shampoo and conditioner. And you know, when I travel with these, they're a lot lighter than carrying the liquid form. This company, Etique, also has body lotion bars and deodorant bars. I'm not as crazy about those, but they work as well. Okay, so now we'll take a pause and we'll talk more about swaps shortly, but just a few questions that I want you all to think about. Is there one change that you could make in your household this week to reduce plastic? And are there any other swaps that look interesting to you? So I'll give you a moment to reflect on that. And also, please, for a small group here, please feel free to clear out any comments and questions you have. Okay, so I have some tips for trying new products. The first one is consider starting with the easy, large impact swaps. So, if you're still using plastic bags, that's a really good one to stop, to find an alternative. Milk bottles, soda bottles, water bottles, those are some of the biggest offenders for plastic pollution and the amount of waste that we're generating. So, starting with making swaps on those is a really good place to start, as well as laundry detergent. Usually, the plastic bottles of laundry detergent are pretty substantial. For personal care items, I recommend trying the new product before you run out of your old product. So if you want to try a shampoo bar, maybe try it when you still have a little bit of your liquid shampoo left to make sure you found something that you like before you use up your old product. And doing plastic reduction doesn't have to be all or nothing. I will say that there are some products like toothpaste that I have not found a product that I really like. So what I do is I have a product that I don't like as much and I use it about half the time. But you know what? That's still half the plastic reduction. So even if you don't feel like you can go 100% with the new plastic-free products, maybe there's something that you can use some of the time and still reduce your plastic consumption. Okay, oops, I skipped one. The next product I have to share with you is dental floss. And this is one of my favorite swaps. So there's a company here in the United States called Dental Lace. And just a quick Google showed me that there's similar products in other countries where you can get the dental floss in a little glass bottle instead of a plastic box. The other nice thing about the version that I get in the glass bottle is that it's waxed, but the version that I get in a plastic box has a petroleum-based wax on it, which is carcinogenic. So it's nice to get rid of that. So the version that I'm using from Dental Lace is not carcinogenic. Usually companies that are selling these little glass dispensers are environmentally conscious, so they usually come in compostable packaging. So this is one of my absolute favorite swaps. Toothbrush and toothpaste. This one's a little trickier. I have really not found a toothpaste tablet that I like a whole lot. One that I have used is Bite Toothpaste Bits. These get great reviews from people, but not for me. I like my old toothpaste better. There are many, many, many different types of these toothpaste tablets worldwide. I've tried a couple different ones and I alternate between toothpaste and toothpaste tablets. So I'm about 50% plastic reduction on that. For a toothbrush, bamboo toothbrushes usually come in cardboard packaging because that's, the whole point is getting rid of the plastic. Their bristles, you have to know that usually their bristles are not biodegradable. So before you compost them, you either have to pull the bristles out or you snap the head off and compost the rest of the toothbrush. I have found the toothbrush that I really like is actually from Bite. It's the same company that makes the toothpaste bits that I use, but there are many out there. There's dozens of different bamboo toothbrushes out there. Deodorant is another one that if you switch to this actual brand is better for your health than most deodorants. This deodorant is from Island Deodorant. It is organic, aluminum free, and it has probiotics in it. It is also the only plastic free, well, kind of organic and plastic free deodorant I found that actually works. The key, I think, is the probiotics in it. So if you're going to look for a more natural deodorant, a compostable tube, look for those probiotics. I think those make a difference. This particular company ships worldwide, And aluminum free is better for your health. There are some health complications with aluminum. This is not an antiperspirant. A lot of times people like antiperspirants. This is not an antiperspirant. So for me personally, I alternate between this one and an antiperspirant deodorant in the summertime, especially. The other thing is this deodorant is a little bit more expensive, but you know, it's very environmentally friendly. When you're done with it, you throw the whole thing in the compost. So I love that fact about it. Toilet paper usually comes wrapped in plastic. And now there are more companies that you can buy toilet paper wrapped in paper, either at your grocery store or in the United States and Canada and Australia. There's a company called Who Gives a Crap, and you can buy toilet paper in boxes and they'll deliver it to your doorstep, which is wonderful. I really like having the toilet paper delivered and not having to lug it around. The other nice thing about this company is that half of the proceeds are used to build toilets in underprivileged countries. So they're giving back to the community, which is wonderful. It is also, you can buy their toilet paper made from recycled paper or bamboo. So either one of those options is better than normal paper. Buying toilet paper made of recycled paper means that there's a market for recycled paper and it's less likely to go to the landfill. So that is a really good option. And then the reason bamboo is another good option is that bamboo grows much more quickly than trees. And so by using bamboo, we can reduce the amount of forest that is being cut down to make toilet paper. So that's a couple reasons, in addition to getting rid of plastic, that some of these toilet paper companies have a lot to offer us over traditional toilet paper. So I have here that it ships to US and Canada. I know it's also available in Australia. So my experience is that I prefer the bamboo toilet paper. And then, you know, if you live somewhere else and you can't get this Who Gives a Crap toilet paper, just look for something that's wrapped in paper at your grocery store and see if you can find something, you know, made from bamboo or recycled paper. This is my last one, toilet bowl cleaner. So usually, you know, I used to buy toilet bowl cleaner in plastic bottles and now I make my own. The toilet bowl cleaner that I make is fizzy and it smells wonderful. And it uses significantly less plastic than toilet bowl cleaner in plastic bottles. So basically how you make this is you take a cup of baking soda and a half cup of citric acid, you mix them together, and then you add some drops of essential oil for fragrance, it's optional, mix it all together. And then you use a heaping tablespoon, you dump it in your potty and scrub it around, and it's great. The only downside of homemade toilet cleaner is that it cakes in the jar after a month or so. So you may want to make smaller batches. The recipe I have has a cup and a half a cup. Really just the ratio is, you know, by volume, 2 parts of the baking soda to 1 part of the citric acid. So, you know, using a smaller quantity might give you a smaller batch that you can use in that amount of time. So this is a look at my personal care regime. You can see I'm not perfect. You can see there's still some, there's still a toothpaste tube down there. There's still a few plastic things that I use, but the majority of my personal care items are actually plastic free now. So I feel really good about that. All right, does anyone have any questions?
I would like to thank again Briana Hoffman for being our guest, and I would like to leave to, before closing with our bell, I would like to leave the closing remarks to our district governor, Steve.
It was great hearing your talk, Briana. I'm a chemical engineer by trade and have quite a background in environmental effects, and trying to set our club up in Auckland to do something with the harbour, both the Waitemata and the Manukau, and look at getting restoration of those areas. And it was really interesting reading and hearing some of your presentation data.
Have a nice evening to all of you, and see you next week. Thank you, Briana. Bye to all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye to all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.